Hello, welcome back to History Snippets. In this afternoon's segment, we'll be talking about gloves. My name is Arlene, and I must say, on my own behalf, my own opinion, I absolutely love gloves. People in the 19th century were expected to have many, many pairs of gloves. That's because they were expected to change gloves multiple times a day. Actually, gloves were considered a mark of refinement and also an indication of your station in life. In fact, in the 1883 publication, Gloves, Their Annals and Annotations, the editors wrote that gloves were a mark of elegance, a mark of refinement, and also gloves were to fit a certain way. If a glove only went straight up to the wrist in a straight line, it was considered ugly. Americans were much less fastidious about glove etiquette than were their British counterparts. American etiquette books discussed glove etiquette at great length, and their information came from etiquette books that had come before them. So really, glove etiquette did not change much from the 1840s throughout the 1890s. That being said, women in the 19th century were expected to be gloved pretty much all the time. In about the early 1800s up until about the 1840s, women's etiquette books indicated that women could wear mitts, which are these fingerless gloves, at the dinner table. However, that changed after about the mid 1840s because after that period of time, women were never supposed to wear gloves when they dined at dinner. In fact, a woman going into dinner would wear her gloves up until the time she got to dinner. Then she would sit down, remove her gloves, and then she would put her gloves on when dinner was over and she moved to another room from the table. In other instances of glove wearing, brides, for instance, would wear their gloves throughout the ceremony until the point where the minister was given the ring. At that point, would hand her left-handed glove to the first bridesmaid. Today, we would call that the maid or matron of honor, and then remain that way till the end of the ceremony. Now, men were also supposed to be gloved. Men would normally have two pair of gloves, a spare pair in addition to the pair they were wearing. Now, in the event the pair they were wearing became soiled, they could switch to the other pair and avoid embarrassment. A gentleman would never, ever dance without gloves, and the same, of course, would hold with a lady. When a gentleman paid a call, he would put his hat and gloves in his left hand so that he could shake the lady's hand. This was also a sign of courtesy that he did not plan to overstay his welcome. Now, if the host or hostess would ask him to stay later, then of course he would put his hat and gloves down, set them aside basically. Of course, if the gentleman making the call and the host or hostess were good friends, then this would be a moot point because they would expect the gentleman to stay around and visit with them for a while. One of the items put into some etiquette books was that if a gentleman should meet a lady on the street and he would like to shake her hand, he did not take his gloves off unless her hands were ungloved. And as you can imagine, if women are always wearing gloves, it would be hard to envision a woman walking down the street gloveless. As far as servants, servants really in America weren't expected to wear gloves. Now, prior to that in England, they were. Now, even though they were not required to wear gloves in America, what they were required to do is keep their hands very neat and very tidy. That is the end of our History Snippets for now. We hope you'll join us again for the next edition of History Snippets.